And welcome everyone to Risen Esports' semifinals. I am going to be your play-by-play caster for this best of 5 series, Aaron Primus Preuss. Alongside is my lovely co-caster, Pierce. How are we doing tonight, Pierce?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm pretty excited. It's my first cast for Risen, so I never know I never know how spicy the memes are going to be. I don't know where to put my expectations at. So it's going to be interesting here.
No, I totally understand. It's my first Risen cast as well, so it should be pretty fun. I participate in the Dominate League, so hopefully we can see some good Rampage action tonight.
Hey, we've got, last time I casted this ELO, I had my first game of my set go to 76 kills in 38 minutes, so the bar's pretty high for the bloodbath here. Come on.
No, absolutely. I'm hoping to see a little bit of blood, but also, some decent team comps. We want to get some good stuff up on the board. So
what you don't want to see, like Teemo top with
we could have
Rengar Jungaro.
No, absolutely. We could have some good stuff going on. I'm moreover want to see that Scion we were talking about earlier. It can go just about anywhere. Still hasn't hit the nerf board at all. So,
well, at least they fixed the bug with his E with having a much larger hitbox than was intended. So at least they fixed that. So maybe they think that's enough of a nerf. I do believe here, but I want to go back to looking. I want to look at this patch that we had that just came out. Had the delayed release due to some issues coming in here. And there's a lot of really interesting things on the patch. What really jumped out at you and what could change the current meta that we've been having for a while?
For sure. It's a pretty good patch. NA and EU are going to be playing their playoffs on 8.5, so it won't mean as much for them. But in the professional scene, the Koreans and the Chinese are going to be playing on 6.6, so I kind of expect for one, the massive Kaisa buffs, which should be pretty crazy at the very least to make her more viable. She hasn't seen very. You want to take a guess of what her win rate was for the first week when she was?
Probably 45% tops.
Yeah, you're actually the closest that's ever. It was 33%. It was ridiculously low. And I know in solo queue, at the very least for me, I've had people on both sides of the spectrum do insanely well with Kaisa, but also come back and have the 1 in 12 games just where you don't get off the ground and can do literally nothing at all. So I think a lot of what they're trying to do in terms of a 25 range buff, her AP scaling getting a little bit better on some abilities, just in terms of trying to make her a little bit more even in terms of not so snowbally in either direction. So hope that. What about yourself? Did you have anything that stood out to you?
What I find really interesting is the changes to the quote-unquote Duskblade champions,
right.
Which could bring back things like Graves jungle, things like Kayn jungle. I was a big fan of Graves jungle because you could sit and farm the entire game, come out at 25 minutes, have 3 items, and just one-shot everything. It was great. I love those days.
Oh, absolutely. Some of his stuff was ridiculous in terms of back when the Thunderlords days. I guess they weren't that long ago, but last season where you could take the Duskblade first item into the Thunderlords into the challenging smite and literally just blast somebody into oblivion, with either a level 2 gank, or you could do something around level 5 or 6 with the ulti, would give you an insane amount of pressure in the enemy jungle. So, and I feel you on the Duskblade nerfs, especially for a lot of the champions that are going to that build Duskblade first. Moreover, and these are not really super meta picks. Nocturne, for one, I did love his buff where his shield doesn't expire during his ulti channel. So they do kind of make him that ulti bot, but he was also hit pretty hard because one of his Nocturne's favorite items is Duskblade. So a lot of champions like Nocturne, Wukong, Kayn got a little bit. Rengar got a huge buff, which we can actually go into that later. Hopefully, we can see some Rengar. I'm he's ridiculously strong in terms of the damage on his Q, and now his E being a little bit longer in terms of duration. But Shaco, Talon, Zed, all these people who are super reliant upon Duskblade, they kind of had to move that damage around to different parts of their kits just to keep them kind of viable within the meta, because you can't just you know what I mean? They did the same thing with AP itemization changes in order to, in 8.4, to try to burn down the tanks, because the tank meta was just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I remember those days. I really don't want to go back to them, so I think the Duskblade changes overall are going to be pretty healthy. However, I do think we're not going to see it as a rush item very often anymore,
right.
just because of the nerfs to the damage primarily.
Right, absolutely.
especially.
You say you don't want to see
early
the
on.
wet noodle fights in the top lane? You don't like that?
I mean, I don't mind the wet noodle fights in the top lane, as I do play top lane as my secondary role. But
Right.
what the days I miss is when I could play Jarvan top lane, go and just dumpster everything back last season before they took away armor.
Before they took away your privileges. No, absolutely. that was that, and one of the Dominate Risen members, Sir Gloxalot, one of his favorite builds when the new runes came out was a similar thing, either stacking Duskblade into he played Garen, stacking a Duskblade into 3 or 4 Black Cleavers, and literally just unkillable with the Transcendence rune. It was pretty ridiculously hilarious. I missed the days in season 3. I don't know how far back I've been playing this game for
League of Cleavers.
Yeah. Oh no, like way just in terms of I should be better at the game than I am. But back when Renekton on release, like season 3, where it was him and Lucian that literally could just demolish anybody within their lane 1v1 constantly. It was absolutely disgusting. Back in the Brutalizer days.
Yep, I remember those days.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like we're gonna shortly be getting into our pick and ban phase. So we're gonna change gears a little bit from the meta and start taking a look at these two teams here. We've got RNG taking on CRCs, and I know as support mains, we've got our eye down in that potential bottom lane matchup. We're not 100% sure whether it's going to come to fruition or not.
Sure.
Due to how teams are lining up right now between Anchor and Arrow down in that bot lane. But what other key points should we be looking at here between these two teams?
In terms of their support pools, if you just want to stay on topic with that, they probably going to be hitting the priority. There's been a lot of on the side of RNG. There's been a lot of Kai'Sa in their solo queue. They've got some Braum and Taric going on, which would have pretty good synergy in that type of lane to maybe get a little bit of lane control. I think
Taric is ridiculous with Kai'Sa.
Oh, it's so massive, and even so, I think Kai'Sa would do well with somebody like Rakan, just with playstyle, because she just it's people would refer to some of my friends would refer to her as like a mini Galio, but I mean she but just with the ability and the mobility of those two champions, just to me seems ludicrous in terms of one can jump on you quicker than you hold you down, and the other one can just kill you. So it's probably what I would prefer Xayah to be, to be honest. Like, granted, I love her. I love she's also another really strong pick on this patch. But as much as I love, just being able to do really awesome things with feathers, flashy plays, stuff like that, having a really mobile unit with Rakan, I think is going to be a game changer.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how teams approach the bot lane, because it's kind of been a more neglected lane overall. I mean, yes, we do still see parties in the bot lane, but I feel like a lot of it's been transitioning more to the top side of the map, because we have been seeing a lot more carry picks coming into the meta, rather than, hey, you're going to play Scion, I'm going to play Maokai, we're both going to rush Banner of Command, and we're never going to die.
I kind of wish the banner meta lasted a little bit longer. Just because, granted, the 8-shot, banner up minion.
That was only minorly ridiculous.
Just a little bit, but especially, I did like they had some of the strategy where they would take minion dematerializers, and somebody would have to keep like an inventory slot.
Yeah,
whoever was going to be able to just kill.
Generally, I felt like almost always it was a support who would end up taking it.
Sometimes it's the mid lane, which was, whatever. You get to 5 items and you'll be fine. But it was just a hilarious little strategy they came up with in order to, because you got 8 shots, not a lot of time to be able to set up, execute.
Another couple good ones are the things like the Syndra pick into it, Thrash.
Right.
It provided a lot of little interesting things that I did personally enjoy here. But I do like seeing more diversity in the mid lane, because as much as I enjoy seeing the cross-map power of Galio, I really don't like seeing Galio versus Ryze or Galio versus Azir every single game. I had enough of that in Season 6 when it was Azir versus Victor, Azir versus Victor, Azir versus Victor. I'm just like, please, I want some variety.
We just need a champion where we can kind of like Jhin, but with auto attacks, where you can just hit them from halfway across the map for absolutely no reason, because that's just kind of the trend in which mid lane has gone with control mages. But it'll be pretty. I'm excited to see Swain. They overbuffed the living crap out of Swain.
Yeah, I'm going to be curious to see if either of these teams end up picking up Swain, because the thing about me with any bronze and silver game I cast is I'm always curious to see how they approach what are considered the quote-unquote power picks on the patch. Things like Caitlyn, Swain, Sejuani, Zac, Skarner, Olaf. You have Galio, Ryze, Azir in the mid lane.
Mm-hmm.
Don't never expect GP in bronze and silver, but GP still fine pick. Things like Gnar in the top lane. Like there's so many different meta power picks that we see at the higher levels. I'm always curious to see how the bronze and silver game really matches up to that.
Yeah, what trickles down. And the ridiculousness of Swain was that his damage isn't too out the window in terms of early on, but he just has his Q basically had the mana cost reduced to nothing and is spammable. So that's his Force Lightning, about to just totally
the Palpatine hand.
The Palpatine game, right? And it's going to change a little bit because of one of the changes on this patch was to Abyssal Mask, where mages really aren't going to be building this item anymore. It's not going to be really good on Ryze and Swain just because it had the radius in which it effectively works was reduced pretty massively. So especially with control mages that stand back a little bit, it's not going to really provide them the same amount of effect. But Swain, I think, is one that can get in your face, could probably still build it a little bit, but he just is so ridiculously durable, does not die, and can CC you for it's really easy to get hit by that W. You definitely get hit by one or two in solo queue.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I feel like you're always going to be on the fence about. It's just he's either going to be too strong or he's not going to do anything as a champion.
Mm-hmm. Which I kind of like what they did. I'm just really upset that they took away they took away Corvus champion by not retaining his Raven. So
yeah, R.I.P. Beatrice 2018 R.I.P.
Right, and so we'll probably looking over to the side of CRC. Might see some Azir. Might see playing some Swain in solo queue. Pretty good KDA on it. So hopefully we can see some interesting picks. Not necessarily stick to any type of meta. You can definitely throw me a Vel'Koz on support. Hit me with a Zoe.
I got a good friend of mine over at Completely who's a Vel'Koz one trick. So literally all you have to do is show him any Vel'Koz game, regardless of whether it's good or bad, and he will sit and watch all of it. I guarantee it. No matter how good or bad it is, he will sit through and watch it all as long as there's Vel'Koz in it.
Oh, right. And we were just sitting here talking because we're both, and so we were sitting here talking about some champions. So I mean, we can have that talk all day long. Throwing Vel'Koz down there is completely viable. But another good friend of mine who's also was the support main. He was the support on my Dominate team. He was a phenomenal bard. He was a bard one trick, right? Dude's climbing nearly to plat, and for some reason, when he and I lane together, and he's on bard, he's just so ridiculously good at bard that I could get through any laning phase. ADC is my off role, so I could be playing a Twitch. I could be playing just something with ridiculously, basically, yeah. Twitch laning phase, we would be owning even up at Caitlyn just because of how much pressure he could output. And I don't understand. Some people just have that ability,
I mean, my personal favorite Cancer bot lane champion as a support is Brand.
Oh yeah,
that's my personal favorite Cancer pick down in the bot lane, where literally I just 1v2 bot lanes for a Vayne or a Jinx, where I literally just spend the entire lane making their ADC cry in a corner.
Oh, dude, I fully understand, especially with that radius and 4% on the max health now, Bran.
It's so good. It's so good.
They're bringing Talisman back into the game since taking it out too, with the Shirelias is back from way back in the day. I'm trying to even remember what it did.
Sure, it got renamed the Talisman of Ascension.
Oh, was it renamed Talisman? Did it always just give that movement speed buff way back?
Yes.
I think it was taken out in season 4, right, to replace it for Talisman for.
Yes, Shirelia's became Talisman, so it was just a movement speed item essentially.
Got you. Doing the good old reversion. Bring back the Brutalizer.
Dude, I don't think that'll ever happen again. That item, I think the argument can be made that the Brutalizer was the most gold efficient item that Riot's ever put into the game.
Oh yeah, and I mean we kind of got something with like in terms of lethality items that kind of match up to Brutalizer, so it's not that bad. I'm more ever thinking of sort of the whole stacking element. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, we still have Najai's, we just don't have one for AD anymore.
Oh, but the AD scaling was disgusting. And something else that's probably going to be disgusting on this patch, oh my gosh. So if either of the teams are listening to us you know what I mean, us just shooting the wind right now, somebody please play Yi. Like, Yi on this patch with the Rage Blade changes is just going, and the change, the new rune that is coming out.
Conqueror.
We can get in and talk with Conqueror. Potentially absolutely disgusting. So Conqueror as the new rune that's coming out on the gosh, I can't even remember the tree name.
It's under Precision Tree.
Yeah, I was about to say it is going to when you're 4 seconds in combat, you get a particular amount of AD scaling, converts 20% of your damage to true damage for 3 seconds. With how quickly Yi ulti, Rage Blade, true damage for 3 seconds, absolutely demolish just about anybody.
Yeah, except for there's the issue of the fact that Yi takes a lot of time to come online, so that's always a concern whenever you're looking at something like the Yi, is that you really need to pick lanes that can protect him to make sure he can get to that point where he can start being very effective. And another pick I'm curious to see is whether or not it's going to come back, is whether or not we're going to see Jax in the top lane, and so pick we've seen here and there, but Shyvana with the changes to Rage Blade, with the power of the auto reset champions, especially melee auto reset champions, with that item is so strong.
And you got the buff to press the attack, but we're into champion select right now, y'all.
According to Pro Draft, it says we are, so I'm going with Pro Draft. Yes. Yeah. So hopefully Streamer has said Pro Draft link, as the first ban is going to be Zyra, not a support we're really seeing a lot of, as Nasus is going to be coming off the table on the red side. I'm a big fan of banning Nasus in this low elo, especially if you have no idea how to punish it.
Right, each team is playing with at least one, maybe two subs, so there is something that the teams might know about that we might not in terms of scouting. But yeah, definitely Nasus in the top lane. The side lane, or the top laner of RNG, plays quite a bit of Nasus, but he also plays things like, you know, Olaf, Maokai, those types of stuff. So
okay, so the next ban on blue side I want to ask you about. It's Xayah. Considering your blue side, I don't know why you wouldn't just look to take that with your first pick, especially since we're using pro drafts, so everyone can pick whatever they want. So I find it interesting that they're not willing to go with that Xayah early rotation.
I agree with you too, and especially because Xayah is such a power pick on this patch alone. I don't think that she necessarily needs to be with Rakan, even though Xayah Rakan has constantly been the strongest bot lane statistically and in the professional scene. So if you take the first pick Xayah, that kind of forces CRC into the blind pick Rakan, or you know what I mean, the first rotation Rakan if they want to split that duo up. But they also banned the Taric, which is definitely going to be a target ban against RNG support, and see the Kai'Sa ban coming out as well.
And Corki is ending up being that last ban going at that mid lane here. So
super safe mid lane, hell of a lot of wave clear, scaling all throughout every single item for Corki as a power spike. So we would have tons to talk about with Corki, but not this game.
Yeah, unfortunately, you don't get to have fun with the Mad Baron in the little plane thingy that he flies, as we're waiting to see what the first pick ends up going to be. And it's going to be the
Bear.
The Bear. We're getting the Bear as the first pick. Not sure if I'm the biggest fan of first picking Volibear, especially considering you have things like Maokai, which you just press W on Volibear when he presses Q and you just laugh.
Right, and the only reason I could think it to take Volibear is it might be with CRC.
A takeaway.
Yeah, they pick up the Maokai and the Caitlyn, which they're already starting to build their front to back team comp. You know, Maokai flank teleports. We'll see how well CRC can execute some of these strategic decisions they can make. But a bot lane with a lot of pressure and dives are very, very doable for CRC.
Yes, I do like the Caitlyn pick. That pretty much guarantees lane priority down in the bot lane for him, especially with Xayah off the table. I mean, there are a couple things you can do to approach the laning phase, which we'll talk about closer to the start of the game here, that you can do to try to combat the power of that Caitlyn in the laning phase. I'm not the biggest fan of the Xerath blind pick. It is a very strong pick. You can still flex that down into the support role, even if it isn't quite as strong as it was back on previous patches, but
they kind of give it away right there, though.
It could still technically be a top lane Galio or a support Galio. So
I've not seen very much Galio in the top lane, though, and he good time into Mount. I mean, won't have a bad time into Maokai, but you want him in your mid lane.
Yeah. I mean, technically, yes. You always prefer to have Galio in the mid. That way he can go to both side lanes here. My only real... I will like the Sejuani pick if that does get locked in. I'm assuming it will here.
Shyvana last minute. You just mentioned it.
I'm a psychic. I get my one pick that I call for every game that I have, and then I'm done. I don't do anything else right the rest of the time. But I do really like the Shyvana pick because you have Maokai, which has additional level of engage. I think a really, really strong pick for CRC, if they have that available to them, would be Karma in the support or the mid lane role. To give Maokai and Shyvana that extra layer of engage, because Maokai and Shyvana, yes, you do have the flash switch and advance, and you do have the Dragon's Ascent.
Don't have a lot of engagement, yeah.
They're not the...
Ooh, Galio was apparently supposed to be a gen pick.
Okay, is that 100% confirmed? Okay, so that changes things slightly, but we'll address that in a second as we're seeing Alistair and Nami being taken off the table.
For sure, pinching the support pool real hard.
Yes, and looks like the Undertaker is being taken off the table with York being the final ban. But back to that Karma pick that I mentioned that I would love to see from CRC is that Karma gives that extra layer of speed boost, especially if she picks up the Shurelias. That's so much movement speed onto a Maokai and a Shyvana. I don't care who your backline is, you don't get away from that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, for sure. And it's a lot of engaged. So to go back and why this is absolutely significant, that Galio is a gen pick, is that you can get onto gen extremely easily with a Shyvana and a Maokai. You know, like they were hovering that Lux band to begin with for their last ban for RNG, and CRC pick it up because they choose the Orianna they don't want to go against instead. You think that's
I still don't think Lux will have... I think Orianna is the better ban because I think Orianna does better in Xerath than Lux
much
does.
More reliably.
Because the issue with Lux is that her cooldowns are so long, and she can never match the wave clear of Xerath as they are picking up a Leona, so that's going to be a Jhin Leona down in that bot lane. It's not one of my favorite combinations. It is still a pretty rock-solid combination 2v2. It's just when I think of Leona, I want something with much more consistent damage, and it's going to be the troll up in that top lane to counterpick to that Maokai, and it's also extremely good into Shyvana as well.
Right, for sure. The Lux might be now going down in the bot lane. We don't know where we get these swaps in. Could be just about anything. Morgana in the mid lane. I think she would do better into Xerath. I would take a look because you really need... Morgana has the reliable wave clear that you were talking about that doesn't. Xerath can poke her out relatively easily. But I don't think that she really provides a lot of utility for the team. Granted, Leona, you could use the Black Shield to stop the Jhin root, Leona stuns, Xerath stun, Volibear flip, those types of things. But I think that you were right, like a Karma would be much better for the comp in this regard, in terms of turning them into just a death ball.
Yeah, I mean, it does give them pretty much the ultimate siege strong. Anyone who steps on a trap gets hit by either binding pretty much dies 100%. Right. So
that's assuming they can get there and get through the Xerath wave clear, though. And I feel you on the Leona Jhin point. In terms of having that fourth shot ready, Leona, flash E, especially them picking the Morgana. The Morgana's going to have to go into that bot lane because you take a Lux down there, Leona's just going to eat you for lunch.
and dinner, and possibly dessert all at the
Oh.
same time here.
All game.
Yeah,
It's
so
pretty crazy.
it is going to be that Morgana support more than likely, as you said. But my only concern with the Morgana is that, yes, it does theoretically counter Leona, but the issue is that Leona has so much CC within her kit that and plus I believe her passive is magic damage, if I remember correctly. So that shield almost instantly procs.
Right.
So, like, yes, you block one ability from a Leona, but she has her root, she still has her stun. Like, there's still so much other tools in her kit, which is why, as I said, I'm not as big of a fan. I think a Karma would bully that lane so much harder. Yes, you do have the double bind potential with the trap and bind combination.
Mm-hmm.
If they play the bot lane properly, which is Leona and Jhin, and they can get a quick leash and get to bot lane early and get lane priority, that's when Caitlyn really struggles.
No, absolutely. And they definitely want to try to get that level to keep him back at the very least, ignore the Leona Jhin power. But looking at the top lane, when it comes to a Maokai Shyvana versus a Trundle Volibear, do you give one side kind of a either heavier,
depends on the level.
Right. And I guess we're looking more at like between the 3 and 6. I guess before
between 3 and 6, I would give the advantage to Volibear and Trundle.
Really?
In terms of 2v2, yes, because you have especially once 6 comes in, but you do have the execute damage from Volibear. Trundle provides a lot more early game damage. Yes, Maokai does have much more reliable CC. If either Shyvana or Maokai are without flash, they do not get away from those two ever.
No, very true. And I do agree with you quite a bit. I think it's going to be a lot closer, especially size to take. And I think she could reliably take either of the runes we were talking about earlier, like the new Conqueror rune, or press the attack. Granted, Shyvana is one of the most proficient users of press the attack. I'm sure you're well aware of that. In terms of just being able to have that double bite, proc it immediately off of auto reset. So she can get a lot of damage out that way. Through that, I think she can get a ridiculous amount of damage out. Goes anywhere near DPS build. But I don't think she's actually going to need to get into comp she's got. She's mostly going to be trying to. I think they would need a little bit more peel at a CLC's comp if they're going to focus on the Caitlyn Lux. But I think they do have the delete potential, especially on the Xerath.
Yeah, I mean, like the biggest thing is that you have 2 immobile backliners against a Shyvana Maokai dive,
right?
With long range DPS follow up in Lux and Caitlyn.
Yep, that Lux laser, that Caitlyn ulti could definitely decimate you.
Yeah, like I feel like this comp depth needs to play a very heavy pick and vision focused style to really be truly effective. Because my issue with them looking to straight up 5v5 is that I don't know if they can 100% always get to the backline without their backlining getting eviscerated by Trundle Pillar, because on the other side of the map, their backline's just as immobile.
Right. No, absolutely. You don't really get away from things with Jhin or Xerath, actually. So it's going to kind of be
that. Don't forget the one of the most underrated things I think about Trundle is the fact that you can literally throw up your pillar because of the AoE slow. It is almost impossible to miss your Jhin W with that.
Oh, absolutely, and it is kind of a little bit ridiculous that the Trundle pillar can proc the Jhin W, but is an easy catch tool nonetheless. Hopefully, I think it's probably at the very least how these 2 team comps are, depending upon the communication between the teams. It's going to kind of be just a dive city while Jhin and Xerath try to stay back, and they have insane amounts of range with the Jhin ultimate and the Xerath ultimate. Once again, with the Caitlyn and the Lux, it's actually going to be pretty interesting for teams.
Yeah, it's essentially whose backline has more artillery. Is it going to be the Xerath and the Jhin? Or is it going to be the Caitlyn and the Lux? And I think it's honestly, looking at them 2v2, it's pretty close because Caitlyn is better than Jhin in terms of outright DPS, but Xerath has much shorter cooldowns than Lux. So it's pretty much one going one way or the other. So we might see the X Factor end up being these two junglers who could theoretically bring that third layer of damage.
Right.
Wake me up inside. I do apologize for the delay, everyone. We did have a minor issue with the lobby. We're hoping to get back in and get this game going here for you within the next couple minutes.
No, for sure. Hopefully we can get into game pretty quickly for y'all. I think we're working on a lobby remake right now.
Yes, so that's the immediate thing. But I just want to give everyone a heads up what the deal is, why we haven't hopped into the actual loading screen here quite yet here. But going back to what we were talking about here, is I feel like the biggest thing whenever you see a team pick a Shyvana is how the enemy team plays around Shyvana's necessity to getting those early Drakes as soon as possible.
Oh, absolutely. She gets those extra stats off of those Drakes and can actually stack them up relatively quickly early on into the game. Not so much as you can with an Olaf or whatnot, but you can definitely get some extra stats off of that. Shyvana does benefit quite a bit from some of the itemization changes if she wants to go DPS, but I assume she's probably going to try to stick it to tank just because they're going to need some type of front line. They're going to have more than one front line with this trundle.
I'm assuming we're going to see Devourer Frozen Heart, Frozen Gauntlet, Frozen Fist, not Frozen Fist. Wow, words are hard. Leave me alone, everybody. Frozen Mallet. That's the word I was trying to say.
For sure.
I mean, I would love to personally see the Rage Blade because I think the Rage Blade is actually really good on Shyvana, but I feel like that's way too much investment in DPS.
No, absolutely. Give me just 1 second. Apologies. I'm having a little bit of a technical difficulty on my end as well. Attempting to fix part of my mic so I don't sound like the adult Charlie Brown for you all the time.
Yeah, we all have had enough Charlie Browns in our lives for this point. We don't need any more.
Absolutely.
But the other thing I want to also talk about is that the RNG does have kind of that when in doubt they have Trundle split push to rely on.
Oh, absolutely.
Because nobody on the side of CRC can really match Trundle. Yes, theoretically the Shyvana can, but the Shyvana's your smite.
Oh, right. You can't take it to the side lane.
Yeah, otherwise it's just a free objective. So it's because the Maokai's not really going to be able to match the Trundle on a side lane. The Trundle's just going to ignore the Maokai and just take the tower around it.
No,
so it's something that is a bit worrisome.
All right, we're trying to get back into lobby here.
Also, make sure you relog just in case if you're not in here already.
Gotcha.
Make sure you, because there's still an issue with Spectator. If the lobby times out, you have to relog in order to rejoin the lobby.
Shout out.
Oh, I can talk about all the issues with Spectator client that's never going to get fixed because of Riot Games, but I don't think anyone is allowed to talk about that. But so we talked a lot about the team comps as a whole, but there's a certain lane that both of us are rather familiar with, which I feel like we haven't broken down from top to bottom, which is this bot lane matchup where we have Jin Leona taking on Caitlyn Morgana here, and kind of how that matchup plays out in terms of power spikes, in terms of lane priority, and how each bot lane can look to take advantage of the other one.
Right, absolutely. And I think it definitely is going to start off in the favor of the Caitlyn if they can get the pushing priority on. That's going to be your most difficult when it comes to that. But if they can get a good foothold in the lane, I mean, Jin has plenty of the range to deal with the Caitlyn.
Yeah, that's kind of like the big issue with any Caitlyn matchup is whether or not Caitlyn has push priority or whether or not you have push priority. If you have push priority in the Caitlyn, you can really negate a lot of what she's going to do in terms of the laning phase. However, if Caitlyn can dictate the lane, it makes it extremely difficult for you to do anything. However, if you do look at that, if the Caitlyn does a push priority, you can look to call down your jungler and try to set up a play.
Right. No, absolutely, and it's gonna change up a little bit with the Caitlyn, simply because she's not going to be building the static Shiv probably until third item, maybe. Because
if she still builds it, I think she's going to go rapid fire into. I'm assuming it's going to be the build now on Caitlyn. Because I feel like having that extra long headshot is far more important than the extra wave clear from Shiv, in my opinion. But I am not a high elo ADC main, so what the heck do I actually know?
Oh, I'm in the same boat with you. Let's see. Is that any better on your end technically?
It sounds a little better. I didn't want to say anything about it, but we don't have any.
No, for sure, for sure. That is very odd. Apologies for that. No, for sure. And so, back to the bot lane. Apologies for that. Trying to get these technical difficulties rectified on my end. In terms of, I kind of really want to see a bunch of Leona engage. It'll probably be stifled on Morgana just with the Black Shield. So at the very least, if they don't stand close to each other within the lane, and she's kind of forced to choose between one of the targets, and Morgana picks right, it's going to be kind of more of a dice roll.
Okay, that's kind of going a little funky dunky on me. But the other thing is like the play you can always do as Leona is you can always E onto one target and then flash Q the other target if your jungler comes down to gank. But that means they have to be within 400 units of each other in order for that play to work. But that is an option that the Morgana can do.
For sure.
So a few other things within both of these compositions that we're going to have to see is that I feel like if CRC, if RNG can set the pace of the game, I think it's going to be extremely difficult for CRC to really keep up because their level of wave clear is significantly lower than that of RNG because the Lux and Caitlyn don't have instant level of wave clear like the Xerath does. Mm-hmm. And albeit the Lux has decent wave clear, the issue is that it's not really instantaneous wave clear, though I'm not sure if that's still true or not with the changes to Luna's Echo. I'm not 100% sure how the AP works out on that. Assuming that she still does build Luden's Echo anyway. I haven't seen Lux on a patch getting played for quite a while, so I'm not entirely sure whether we see the Seraphs or the Luden's build coming out of her.
No, absolutely. And she's going to definitely be going for the Archangel staff just like any other. After this patch, you get infinite mana, any number of things. 20% CDR.
I mean, CDR is OP, confirmed.
For OP.
So if she does end up going for that Archangel Seraph's Embrace build here, it is going to give her not quite enough wave clear because the issue is that the Lux Lucid Singularity, her E, doesn't do enough base damage to clear out the back range caster minions.
Absolutely not. She has to get that auto in, and that's huge risk into Xerath.
Yep, which is why you will see a lot of Luxes just ult the wave to take most of it down and then look to use Lucid Singularity to clear the remainder of the melees.
Right, it's just going to give the Xerath priority if he ever wants to be out of that lane, but I don't think he's happy just farming that up.
Yeah, and like if he needs to go rotate to a side lane, he literally only needs to move like half of the screen and he'll be in range to ult it.
Oh, absolutely. Not too bad. It shouldn't affect the top lane too much like we were talking about in the 2v2, but the bot lane is definitely where you're going to want to try to make your plays here, and I think that's probably where Volibear is going to be trying to make a lot of his plays as well.
Yeah,
we're going to have her farming all the time, unless she tries to get frisky and go in the enemy jungle, but that's also a gamble into a Volibear.
Yeah, the biggest concern I have with for the side of CRC is they need to get Caitlyn onto tower as soon as possible. Because the faster that they can facilitate that, the faster they can get the Maokai out of the lane with the Trundle, and the faster they can rotate the Caitlyn around the map to siege towers. Because the issue is that it's going to be really difficult for them to ever truly take the mid tower, which is why I think a really good strategy for CRC is to look at make a dive up in the bot lane, take the tier 1, swap the top lane, take the tier 1 there, then grab Herald back, reset, group mid with Herald, and use that to take the tower from the Xerath, because otherwise it's going to be extremely difficult to break the wave clear of the Xerath.
I've jumped on the backup microphone. While I definitely agree with you there, is this any better for you technically? I don't know if you can tell or not.
The quality's not as good, but there's no weird voice changing yet. So
very nice.
Okay.
Very nice. Doing good on that. No Charlie Brown transformations.
I prefer to avoid Charlie Brown transformations.
I know it's traumatic, definitely traumatic for me as a child. Can't get into any of that yet though. But hopefully, do we have any updates from our product staff on what we're getting into the game a little bit?
Yeah,
for sure. Getting a little bit of word that it's going to take us a little bit longer to get into game here. Apologies, folks.
Unfortunately, there are things outside of our control here. We're going to take a short little break before both of us completely destroy our voices here before getting into game number 1 here. So I do apologize once again. We will be back with you hopefully within the next few minutes with game number 1. And welcome back after that short intermission. I do apologize to everyone for that delay here as we are back with RNG taking on the unexpected competitor in CRC. Here we're going to take a quick look at these two team compositions. On the blue side, we have RNG. We have Mr. Pudding in the top lane on Trundle, Elfire in the jungle on Volibear, Dr. McLicker Kitty, which I will probably be calling Doctor the entire game because that is way too many words, on Xerath. I miss Dad on Jhin, and of course our lovable Arrow in the support role playing Leona.
And on the red side, we have Team Crank. We got the Nate Rose on Maokai in the top lane, Corinthian on Shyvana in the jungle, Anchor in the mid lane on Lux, Monkey on Caitlyn in the bot lane, and Alala Fell. We'll probably be calling him Fell or Lala. One of the two on Morgana in the support lane.
I'm going to go with Lala just because it's first.
Yeah, Lala's definitely going to be the easy way to go. I definitely could see that as falafel.
But I think the most funny thing for me personally is that Anchor took Cleanse on the mid lane Lux, which I find quite interesting because the only real cleansable things that he needs to worry about in terms of laning phase is the stun coming in from the Xerath, but you should really never be positioned as the Lux to really ever be. I think it's fine in terms of team fighting because getting out of that Leona is quite important. I am disappointed, though, that we are not seeing Predator Volibear. I'm very disappointed.
Oh, he's going Aftershock. I definitely disagree. But we have the new Keystone Conqueror on Trundle in the top lane. Let's go.
Yes. However, from my experiences watching quote-unquote high elo streams, it is actually busted in terms of actually seeing what your damage after the game is. So nobody really knows if it's broken or if it's terrible yet. So it remains to be determined here. But I do find it quite interesting here for the Trundle to take because he's going to be whacking that Maokai for a long time. I'm going to be curious to see whether or not the Nate Rose is going to be going for the old, hey, I am playing into Trundle or Fiora. I go Tincha Tabbies into Bramblevest and then laugh.
Oh, absolutely. I could see either one. coming from the top lane and the jungle as well on the side of RNG, we do have the Constable Trundle and the Captain Volbeat. So, and Van, and Project Jin, Project Leona in the bot lane.
The synergy is strong.
Yeah, the synergy.
The synergy is strong for Team RNG here. However, for me personally, I'm a big fan of Festive Maokai and Super Galaxy Shyvana. It's my favorite Shyvana skin is Super Galaxy, followed closely second by Ice Strike Shyvana. But Miss Bewitching Morgana is certainly very bewitching and or distracting depending on your point of view. But anyway, we have officially gotten onto the Rift here. It'll be just a moment before it shows up live on the stream for you guys here. I am ready for our semifinals to finally get kicked off here between the expected finalists giving the matchup here with RNG on the blue side and then the underdogs coming in to this matchup, Team Crank here. Let's get a little bit of background on to how Team Crank really got to this point because they weren't really expected to be here.
No, absolutely not. Team Crank was not even really favored to get out of the first round. They did have a 62% prediction on getting out of round on getting into the pre-quarters before quarterfinals. But they actually made an upset on sponsored gameplay with a 2-1. 62% of the people predicted sponsored gameplay to get out of that, and they've made their way all the way up to challenge RNG, who are pretty heavy favorites all around to get to where it is to get to the finals. Maybe even take it all the way.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how this game well and truly plays out here. Looks like we're going to see a red side start coming in for Corinthian on the Shyvana. I do find that quite interesting because there's quite a few different paths you can really take on Shyvana. I'm going to be curious to see what he's going to go for, if he's going to go the full clear route or if he's going to go the try to for an early play down in that bot lane because you do have Morgana Caitlyn.
Oh, right. No, for sure. And with Shyvana, you do have a lot of freedom in the jungle simply because you are going to want to be taking a whole lot of camps really quickly. I still trend towards the bottom lane, and you're starting on the blue side for when you're on the red, starting your blue buff, rather, because you have your bot lane. They give you such a strong leash. Now, the top lane, the Maokai is going to be put behind the Trundle regardless anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. She starts up here. Plus, she's just going to clear camps pretty quickly. You're going to probably focus on her AoE camps if she has that sort of AoE clear, or Bully's going to steer past his chickens as you see him doing, probably going to either go buff to buff, maybe take some wolves. Shyvana could easily go for a full clear minus the Krugs just because of how much damage they do early in the game.
That, and you're really not getting a lot of XP from doing Krugs. Like, Krugs is still the lowest XP camp to get here. Right. Really think that LaFell can be playing a lot more aggressive than he actually is in this bot lane here.
Right, Jin's already been chunked quite a bit, though.
Yeah, the chump damage is nice. I almost feel like in this matchup, you almost want to start W on Morgana just to get early lane control.
Yeah, absolutely. Did hit a binding, though, so 1 for 1, at the very least from what we've seen.
Yes, and we will be keeping track of that and be updating you every time we see something happening down in that bot lane here. But we're seeing
Elvis, if you could not miss a binding, that'd be great. Not one.
That we've seen anyway. But we are seeing Anchor eating a lot of trade damage. That early poke advantage that the Xerath has in pretty much every matchup, really controlling the lane here. And I'm still kind of on the fence in terms of where Jin is in the meta. Like, I don't think Comet is really where you want to be taking because, like, Comet, I feel like if you're going Comet, you really need to be going the Serrated Dirk build. But I honestly think Crit build's better right now.
Absolutely, with the nerfs to Duskblade and the lethality just being weaker overall, he's probably going to be. Stat's probably going to be going for the Crit Gen build at the very least. That does relegate you to things like Fleet Footwork, which allows you to get even more speed on your 4th shot. So it's not the worst. Crit Gen still does a lot of damage.
Yeah, plus with the sustain, you're in that poke lane matchup with the Caitlyn Morgana. It just makes more sense, in my opinion, to take the Fleet Footwork, as we're just seeing Trundle and Maokai things up at the top lane. Nobody's going to be dying really until level 6 unless a gank happens.
Trundle doing Trundle things.
Yes, Trundle just doesn't care. Just like, okay. That's like one of the things about Trundles. You can trade health with Trundle all you want, but the issue is he will sustain it a heck of a lot faster than you will.
It's the struggle. Maokai also doesn't have too bad a sustain now when it comes to, but Trundle's not really that much.
He is getting rather low here. The Nate Rose has to blow the flash. That's kind of that trading that I was talking about. Like, yes, Maokai does have a fair bit of sustain, but it takes a lot longer for that sustain to really become effective.
Oh, absolutely. And Jen is taking the front end of these trades here with the Caitlyn, which is pretty expected, but she's landing a lot of her Qs down here too, which definitely helps you. You imagine a little bit more than eight or so CS lead, given how much pressure she can output in this lane. But it looks like they're swinging towards a CRC, swinging towards this Drake pretty early.
Yes, and it is an air Drake, so it is one of the best early Drakes to take in terms of your HP. Due to the fact that it doesn't slow you, it doesn't do quite as much damage. Plus, it's on a team with a Maokai and a Shyvana.
Oh, absolutely. And the new changes to Drake at 8.5, in case y'all aren't aware. Cloud Drake was buffed, which kind of turned the new meme Drake into anything past first.
We do have an engage coming in the bot lane, but nice use of the trap. Well, that was way too far forward. Ignite and Flash coming in from Arrow. We are going to have the escape coming in for the AD carry. However, the Zenith Blade does miss just by air. Same with the Jin W. So a ton of summoners being traded in the bot lane, but no deaths coming in, meaning no first bloods still being taken off of the table.
I have no idea how Caitlyn got out of that. She flashed so late, but still gets out of it alive. It was actually pretty good play on the side of Monkey. So gonna stick him around in lane, doesn't want to miss stuff because Jin's also low, so it looks like they're gonna try to maybe take the risk. As we were talking about before, in terms of the engage potential, they definitely can get on top of this Caitlyn if Lala is not quick on those Black Shield fingers.
Yeah, the other thing is that I don't think Monkey needed to step forward after he dodged. I think he just needed to immediately back off. I mean, it does bait out an extra couple summoners, but there's no summoners down in that bot lane here, and it's getting to that scary point in the game with both mid laners hitting that level 6. They have that ability to provide pressure down in that bottom lane, but this top lane CS differential is not pretty.
He is bleeding CS here. It's not going to be great for him, but very close to Anchor.
Flash burned in the mid lane by Anchor on that gank from Elfire. I feel like as Lex, you have no reason to ever be pushed up in a position for Bullet Bear to gank you, as that's a lot of damage going on to Monkey.
Man, everybody is playing with fire on the side of CRC. They're want these minion waves. They're not trying to be the first ones to back at all. It's just a continuous game of chicken in this mid lane at the very least. Anchor finally is conceding.
Yeah, so we are going to see that Seraph's build coming out of Anchor in the mid lane, but we do have that difference in choice with the Lost Chapter Rush coming in from Doctor versus the Tier and Amp Tone Rush coming from Anchor. So it's going to give them a little bit different in terms of power spike. It's going to spike a little bit faster. Actually, I do believe Xerath actually rushes Luden's Echo rather than goes Seraph.
Right, it gives him a little bit more wave clear if that's the case. And I'm actually pretty interested because we were talking about Lux struggling to keep her mana and her cooldowns up. And with this new Seraph build, you get 20% CDR on your Seraph. She gets a nice little shield to survive some of the onslaught of the Lux Seraph, et cetera, et cetera. Granted, it has been nerfed a little bit as of 8.6. But one thing that is probably going to make a whole lot of difference, we were talking about earlier, is the Cloud Drake, in that the movement speed is now in combat movement speed and not just out of combat movement speed, making it a lot more valuable.
And it's also tripled out of combat.
Very true.
And I'm just slightly tilted by the choice in build coming in from Mistari Pudding in the top lane, and I would have much preferred to see him go with the early Tiamat to give him a lot more lane priority in that top lane, because something that Trundle really struggles with is his wave clear, as he is all single target damage, so that early Tiamat gives him so much more lane priority than that Sheen. Yes, the Sheen's a great item to have on Trundle, but it's still a very suspect wave. Arrow posturing rather aggressively is going to get doubled up here on the trap and binding, but Monkey is going to be forced to back off, respecting the possibility of Hellfire being in that bush as we do see the substitute going down in the top lane onto Nate Rose. He's eating a lot of damage. He's going to be forced to use the ultimate to disengage up in that top lane as my client lagging is coming in here because, oh, the joy is a spectator delay, but it's just going to be a disengage down in that bot lane. Thankfully, I don't miss anything.
These two teams are playing with a lot of respect towards each other, especially with Mr. Pudding not trying to flash on top of the Trundle, which I think he probably could have gotten the kill if that's the case.
We do have Corinthian up in the top lane. Mr. Pudding is rather low. I would just look to try to trade the kill back on the Nate Rose. Is not able to get the kill, as that is going to be first blood over to Corinthian, probably. As I lag out again. Yes. There. Yeah, I don't know about that flash choice.
Absolutely. Hits the binding.
Yeah, I think Anchor should have cleansed there, and he could have potentially gotten a kill out of that.
Oh, absolutely. And back to your point on Trundle, I'm talking about that tier mat rush. You can already see how difficult Nate Rose is having in terms of farming into this tower. If you get that tier mat, you can just continually shove him under mercilessly rather than letting him have some. Let him have a little bit of reprieve while it takes you to push in single target, like we were talking about.
Yeah, like, I'm not saying that the Triforce build is bad. I just think early Tiamat is just so much better.
Especially if you're trying to turn into that split-pushed monster, which we know Mr. Pudding is going to want to do, because they have nobody on the side of Crank that can match him in any side lane.
Yeah, and despite the fact that they do have that early first blood, they do have a slight CS advantage in the jungle and a decent CS advantage in the bot lane due to that top lane disadvantage that the Maokai has is struggling. I disagree with him going with the Sunfire Gate builds. Like, I think the HP is fine, but I think he really needs that early Bramble Dust and just having to really try to do anything in this.
Yeah, absolutely, and it wouldn't be the worst because there's only 2 damage threats. Lucky for RNG, they have. I guess you can consider Trundle a physical damage threat, so he wants to prioritize armor a little bit more. But he's still going to need a little bit of magic resistance. That Spirit Vision always feels really good on that guy.
Yeah, I expect to see the Spirit Visage. We could theoretically also see an Abyssal Mask coming in to boost up that Lux damage a little bit. Plus, it helps his damage out just a little bit here. Something we should look at mentioning is this amount of priority that RNG is putting around this Herald. They have 2 pink wards in the air. They have 2 wards. They have complete vision control on that top side, as it does look like Nate Rose might get collapsed on here in the top lane. Is going to use the Twisted Advance. I'm waiting for the directed camera to not do... Okay, apparently I was not on directed camera that entire time. I don't know why. I hate Rito.
R.I.P. Rito.
Yes. Rito, please fix Spectator. Please.
Making us late. You're getting a surprising amount of damage out of this Trundle when it comes to this Conqueror, and I didn't think he would actually get that much. I think it would be much better on...
we do have the Dragon being taken here. It is an Ocean Drake, so it's a pretty good time for Ocean Drake. Ideally, you want it between that 8 and 12 minute mark. Because landing phase is just wrapping up. It gives a lot more sustain, especially considering you have this poke lane down in the bot lane, you have a Lux in the mid lane. That Ocean Drake is so important. Plus, it'll even help Maokai a little bit up in that top lane, sustaining up
second dragon for Shyvana. So,
ooh, we have a flank set up by Corinthian here. Does going to go in with the Dragon's Ascent onto Doctor. Can the bind come in? No, he fires the final spark the wrong direction.
Backwards anchor.
Core JJ, was that you?
Oh my gosh.
Core JJ, was that you? Were you cosplaying as Anchor? I was joking when I said Anchor was going to be the Anchor that dragged his team down, but I mean, come on.
Oh my gosh, that was so free. Corinthian set that up beautifully, especially coming across the break.
Did we see the question mark pings coming in from Corinthian? Did we see the question mark pings?
Well deserved. Well deserved. Oh my gosh, and I Miss Dad is just hitting W after W in this bot lane. I think every time we switch down here, he's just hitting another deadly flourish. This is absolutely ridiculous. They've had quite a bit of priority in this lane too. He is going to build as well that you were talking about, Static Shift with the comments, so at the very least he's staying consistent.
No, he's going Serrated Dirk.
Oh, yeah,
he's going with the lethality build, which I think isn't quite as good because he's really not going to be in range to hit backline other than his ulti.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And he's not going to beat the lethality through the Maokai or the Shyvana at all, assuming she goes. Oh, she's going to. Oh, she's not devour anymore. It is Blood Razor.
Yes, is good Blood Razor. Oh, a lot of damage coming onto Elfire with the full combo coming in from Lunch, but the power of that Cinderhawk still giving just enough HP to still stay relatively healthy. Passive still not procced on that Bully Bear.
Gotta test your damage. Gotta test your damages, Lux, you know? Some people can feel it out. It's never a bad idea to just shoot a tank with your entire rotation, especially because I assume she's going sorcery, so she's probably got that ultimate half to throw that cooldown. You can get it down to something like 30 seconds on a Lux. It's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, and we do see the Infinity Edge coming in from Monkey. Going to be curious to see where he looks to go with that second item. Trying to see where
Are we seeing a first item Shirelius from the Morgana?
That is entirely possible here, which I would really like. That is something I talked about. We do have a flash coming down in the bot lane, but we rotated back to the mid lane. Nice trap positioning from Monkey. Is going to eat the root, though. Ignite does come in. He's going to come in from the Bully Bear. Ultimate coming in. Thundering Pulse is going to get the double kill down in the bot lane. But Corinthian has rotated down. I don't think he can take this 1v3 fight. A lot of damage coming in. Is going to be forced down to disengage here, as that was a bit aggressive coming in. You have the ultimate coming in, but Corinthian's already out of the way.
Man, that was a 1-for-2 in favor of. Well, it's just 2-for-1 actually.
And they have no vision in that river area at all. So again, they're playing very aggressively with no deep vision to get away from Volleyball. Elfire, it does have position. Corinthian is going to go in with the boost smite, trying to get away.
You're on the wrong side of the map,
locked up by the stun, and Doctor picks up the kill. Thankfully, no buffs were transferred.
No, but look at that vision control, especially on the bot side of the map. You just got RNG just dripping in pink wards.
Yeah, they've been consistently buying pink wards. They had 2 early ones up on that top side of the map. They rotated those down into the bot lane, and it's something that I mentioned, that you can punish this Caitlyn Morgana for pushing up so aggressively, and they had no deep vision in the river to really facilitate their positioning in the lane.
Well, with the priority that you can kind of get with Leona and Bully Bear, Shyvana's just starting to come online now that she's hit level 9. She's almost to her level 11, where she pretty big power spike for her ultimate level 2. So getting that sort of wrestling that vision control away from RNG, who's played very far from the lane in almost all 3 of their lanes, it's been a bit of a chore. But it's also compounded by removing the Tracker's Knife at 8.5. Now I'm not sure how many Rampage junglers are building Tracker's Knife, but at the very least it's still a significant amount of.
I build Tracker's Knife every game, even in solo queue. Whenever I had to play jungle, I always built Tracker's Knife.
No, absolutely.
RIP Tracker's Knife 2018.
Well, RIP Lee Sin. He's the one who's gonna hurt the most.
Oh, but again, Monkey's too far forward, eats the Zenith Blade, but nice sidestep coming in from Monkey, trying to DPS down the Leona, is gonna be forced to run away. Imistad is gonna end up securing the kill on the backside. Binding does get a trade kill, but it should be Imistad securing this kill with one more auto. Exhaust is going to come in. Can she have her blue suede shoes on? No, she cannot. As Imistad gets another kill down in the bot lane in that Jhin, despite the CS advantage, is taking control down in the spot lane.
Arrow, just let the Jhin go. There was no reason for you to eat the binding, but it's still 1-for-2 in the bot lane. Massive trade up on the Jhin, and he's regardless. Lethality is not weak enough to not do anything all game. So if they can snowball this further on the side of RNG, as well as they have the Trundle to take out one of the tanks, I think the Jhin can still have plenty of damage in these 2 builds.
Yes, as Rift Herald is going to get started up. Subjugate going down onto the Nate Rose. Ultimate coming in. Nate Rose does not have enough tankiness to survive this. As I said, he is sitting on, I don't think I've mentioned this, but he's sitting on a bunch of gold he has not bought in quite a long time, sitting on 2,200 gold. I don't know why he was looking for that aggressive trade there.
We got another, taking the Rift Herald with another Cloud Drake about to spawn coming up just now. It looks like they're going to try to trade it on the side of CRC.
Yes, we do have the engage coming in onto Lala. It's a big 4-shot crit. Is going to get ignited. Should end up falling here to the Ignite from Arrow.
The fade away Ignite.
That is going to be a kill plus Drake traded for a Rift Herald up in the top lane. Mista is trying to reset here as we do have Nate Rose coming in with Mert Treads. We do have Corinthian up in the top lane. Does have Dragon's Ascent available. Is going to slow with the Chilling Smite. Hasn't looked for the dive quite yet. Is going to look for the dive now, but flash away from Mr. Pudding. He's going to get a trade kill.
Ooh.
Corinthian did not play that optimally, in my opinion, but good work by Mr. Pudding getting the trade kill back.
You got to let the Maokai.
But Nate Rose is going to get engaged on by Doctor and Elfire, but that is one tanky Maokai. There's not going to be enough damage. We do have a Final Spark coming across the landing, though. We have the Lux here. Does miss the binding. Elfire is going to get slowed up by the Lucid Singular, and Nate Rose is not going to be able to fight, get in range for that Twisted Advantage. Eye of the Arcana is going to come in here. Elfire is positioning too aggressively as the backup gets binded and bursted. Anchor taking the kill.
Anchor finally starting to pull his weight a little bit. In terms of how you want to execute that dive in the top lane, you definitely want to let the Maokai start tanking it first and not just jump in as Twinty did, just because Maokai has the ability to drop aggro when he gets low with his Twisted Advance. So, unfortunately, that didn't play out in their favor, but they did get the return kill on Volibear at the top lane, and it goes on to Lux, who definitely has a more expensive build than
Lalo used that Black Shield extremely early. Should get bursted out here by... I missed that. Arrow is not squishy enough for Monkey to trade that kill back despite burning the heal. And they're just not respecting the power of that Jhin, as it is actually a first item Shirelia's. And while, yes, that is a good team fight item, it's not really a good laning item, as Vista is going in with the Subjugate, is going to do a bunch of damage to Nate Rose, is going to use the ultimate to try to disengage here. I disagree with his choice of Merc Treads, though. I think he really needed Ninja Tabbies against the team composition.
Oh, absolutely. No question about that. And it really doesn't help. It looks like Jhin started to pivot his build. He just really wants the movement speed from Youngmoos, I suppose. He's doing his best cosplay of the Fast. I don't know if you've actually seen that, but one of the best YouTube memes for Jhin, if you haven't seen it. But he's sort of pivoting towards an Infinity Edge now, so he'll still be keeping the damage coming way far into the late game. And especially with that, just rushing a Shirelia doesn't get you any sort of tanky stats to survive this Jhin damage.
I mean, it gives you a little bit of health, but that's about it.
And
Doctor eating a bunch of damage is going to get a nice shock at all. And we're going to pretend we didn't see that, because that's not the most boosted thing he's done this game. So I mean, I don't think he will ever live down that backwards ult. So, I mean, it's better than his backwards ult. I'll give him that.
Oh, absolutely. And
Monkey once again positioning too far forward. Eats the Solar Flare despite the... Yeah, they should give the kill. They should have gotten the kill over. Mr. Pudding is going in the top lane. We should see Lala going down. Double kill down in the bot lane. Missa should fall here to the Shyvana. One more he should be coming up in just a second, but he actually missed. And that's going to be first tower down in the bot lane, as everything goes wrong for the side of Crank.
Crank just dropping like 1 and 8 in the bot lane. They are bleeding down here. Shyvana just trying to get work done in the top lane. Drops the Rift Herald. She might be able to get something, but Trundle has his teleport. He really wants to stop this.
Yes, and they're going to lose 2 towers down in the bot lane. I mean,
what you can.
I mean, she gets 1 tower in trade, but like it's just not. I just feel like Monkey's just not respecting the engage of Leona, and is expecting Lala to just be able to just constantly back him up, as Anchor's eating a lot of poke. Is probably going to end up getting dove here.
Oh, Anchor, you got to get out of there, bud. Oh, you don't got your. And the Leona lockdown is just too much for Anchor.
Well, they do actually get 2 turrets back down in that top lane, so good work coming in from Corinthian, trying to do what he can. We do have the engage coming in from Nate Rose. Should get Elfire on the backside. No, he actually is able to flash out and get away, so they get 3 towers for 2 in the trade in the end here, as Corinthian is getting mighty big on the Shyvana, but the issue is that he doesn't have a bot lane.
No, absolutely not. And another big issue to compound this bot lane snowball is that heal was actually nerfed in this past patch, given a much longer cooldown, and ignite that Arrow's taken was buffed pretty significantly, giving it about a 20% more damage coming through. So.
Oh, also another minor thing is I had a talk with a high elo player, and it's apparent, and you're actually not supposed to take exhaust as a support pretty much at any point in the game anymore.
Really?
Yeah, unless it's in a very specific lane-related scenario, that you should almost
especially
always
for
go
lane
Ignite.
domination.
Yeah, you should almost always go Ignite as a support.
No,
But
for sure.
That's just
especially to cut that healing down. It just lets you snowball this lane even harder, assuming you can blow the summoner. It's on cooldown for another 15, 20 additional seconds. So gives you.
And I was right. It was Infinity Edge Rapid Fire. I feel smart now. But it doesn't really matter because they're so far behind the item curve right now. Jin should be getting his Rapid Fire any minute now. Corinthian's really your only strong person, sitting on a bunch of gold, sitting on 3K. Why are you not backing?
Please go spend your
3K gold.
Yeah, you're looking at about 1,400 gold leaving the top lane too on this. So finally, it decides to go for the Executioner's Calling, which is a little interesting on a Trundle.
I think it's fine into the Maokai.
Right.
Because you have the Maokai healing, you'll also have Fleet Footwork from Caitlyn, so I think it's fine. I don't think it's great, but I can understand it, as we have Imistad and Nate Rose up in the top lane. Anchor is going to get jumped on by Arrow, but there's no backup. That flash was interesting, as we do have Righteous Glory and Hellfire coming in onto the Nate Rose. It's still quite tanky. Is he going to eat a lot of damage coming in, as he's not having any support coming in to try and help him, as I'm trying to talk through a spectator lag right here, because, oh, the joys of Riot. Come on, please, Rito.
Yeah, they're going for this top lane, so they're going to get it relatively easily. There's nothing that Lux and Morgana can do to stop them. So looks like they're going to keep pushing, and they can pretty easily push all three lanes if they're looking like it, with it being a clean 3-for-0.
Yes, they get a clean 3-for-0. They do give up another Ocean Drake, so that's another Drake over to Shyvana. But when
it doesn't really matter with 7,000.
Yes. Plus, Trundle now has double buffs. And as if he wasn't annoying enough out in that side lane, he gets even more annoying with double buffs. And Shyvana, you don't build that item anymore in Shyvana.
Right, I'm saying not only that, but the Trundle can just kind of ignore whoever's coming up against him to match him, which is now going to have to be the Shyvana. He can just take these towers, like with the red buff, he's just going to get massive, or just bite Shyvana in the face twice. You know, it's really he's just his oyster at this point. Well,
I mean, if Corinthian had gone Frozen Mallet, it would have been so much better. But no, he chose to go Titanic Hydra, and Titanic Hydra, in my opinion, is not a strong item on Shyvana in the current moment, because essentially the whole point of Shyvana right now is you go in with your Frozen Mallet and you just sit on top of the person with Press the Attack and Blue Smite, and they never get away, and you're doing a metric expletive amount of damage.
No, absolutely. And definitely agree with you on that analysis point right there. But say in terms of looking at the goals between the teams, the junglers are actually pretty close. But the big disparity is in that top lane for the 2,500 gold on Trundle now.
I mean, it's also 2,000 in the ADC role.
Yeah, that is going to be ridiculous, but it's kind of expected with the 5 kill, 5 assist difference.
Yeah, it's. I think part of it is the item choice that Lala went with the early Shirelias. I think Shirelias is fine as an item choice, but it's a snowball item. I don't think it works well as an item choice if you're behind.
Yeah, absolutely. They needed to win the game for CRC, so they couldn't get behind in the game, especially with how the builds reflected earlier. So
they also had almost no tower damage at all during that whole laning phase.
Yeah.
And that's like the whole point of picking Caitlyn right now, is you just sit at tower.
Yeah, no, it's the struggle of having the Shyvana in the jungle that provides near nothing until level 6, you know? So you gotta
we do have Corinthian does blow Imistad's flash, trade with the ultimate and the chilling smite, so they're not gonna have that to try to rush down Baron. That was also flash from Corinthian as well.
He also traded flashes on that as well as the ultimate, so good trade on the side of Imistad and staying alive. And Corinthian really wanted to kill that Jhin. And
this is exactly what I was talking about in the pregame, is like, you can't siege into the Xerath. Like, you can't play this ARAM mid against the Xerath. You can't.
Not 7,500 gold behind you can, especially when they can get flanked from either side. They don't get to hit any flanking wards. wouldn't be the worst of the Trundle Volibear to come in on either side of these teams, because they can't go past the river. Look at their vision. They have one ward on the side of RNG's jungle, but
yeah, and they do have one ward in river that is going to expire here in just a moment. They do have the Scuttle Crab, which does give them vision of Baron, but we've kind of hit a little bit of a lull here, as gonna take a look at our item spikes coming in here for both of these teams here. We've got 2 items completed onto the Trundle. We have most of a 3rd item on the way, as he's just beating on the Maokai, but Maokai's not taking a crap ton of damage over time, but still taking some damage. You have 2 items on both their junglers, almost 3 items on each of those. We have 3 items on 3.5 items. Well, essentially 3 items, on to Doctor with Morels, Ludens, and Haunting guys.
Right, the 2 item Lux should be able to delete whoever she wants to delete in the game when it comes to significant targets, right? Jhin has no magic resist. He's gonna get deleted, and if Xerath is dumb enough to step up and try to get caught by a binding, he can 1 rotation without the Zonias, so that's going to be his only reprieve from in terms of getting decimated by the Lux. But she has to get up close and personal to be able to do any of that, and if she can't get past this Trundle, if she can't get past this Volibear or Leona, then her bindings can't even go that far.
Well, thankfully we do have a Mikhail's and a QSS coming down in for that bot lane. But the issue is again, they're still going to be behind the damage curve for quite a long time.
Nobody's going to be CCing them now.
They get out of 2 CCs.
And the Black Shield.
And the Black Shield, assuming they use it properly. We do have another Drake spawning here. In 35 seconds, it's going to be a 3rd Ocean Drake, so no really fun Drakes this game. But if Crank does pick it up, there's the ever-present threat of a 4 Elemental Drake Elder coming up around the 37-minute mark if they're able to burn it down immediately, which, if you're RNG, you really don't want to mess with.
No, your RNG needs to accelerate the pace of this game a lot.
We are going to have an Engage coming in on Nate Rose. Is going to eat a lot of damage. He's going to get flashed, but does use Nature's Grass to try to get away. Binding coming in over the wall is not going to land on anyone. Nate Rose trying to get away as fast as he possibly can, as Rito's client loves making me lag right at the most inopportune times. Nate Rose is eventually going to fall to Hellfire and miss the pudding, but they did burn quite a lot to get that kill onto the top laner, as the Drake is going to fall. Drake is going to fall for the side of Crank, as that Luxall is going to instantly clear that wave. They're not able to come up and auto that tower due to that ultimate coming in from Anchor.
Yeah, Crank is going all in on these Drakes, it looks like, which is basically all they've got when it comes to a strategy right now. They're down 10,000, but they somehow secured.
Corinthian is massive, though.
Xerath's by himself in a side lane, though. Doctor, what are you doing?
That's not the best position, but that does open up Drake. Can they force them off here? They're going in with a lot of poke damage coming in. LaFell going in with the flash. Shoal Shackles trying to stun everyone up, trying to buy time as the shutdown goes coming in on a Monkey trying to cut it out, but I Miss My Dad does get the kill. Nice binding TP coming in from Nate Rose as they're going to try to come in. Final Spark coming in, doing a bunch of damage as Hellfire does fall. And hashtag worth.
Here's Maokai, basically just coming through. They didn't have any vision. They couldn't see him coming out. Just kind of jumps right on. Didn't even have to flash. Oh, yeah, he TP'd into the pit. No, absolutely.
Yeah, because there's a ward in the back of the pit. They're going to start up the Baron here. We do have the Jhin ultimate coming in, trying to stall him in. It's Corinthian has rotated up here. They should be able to knock this off with no presence coming in from the top half of the map here. So a big turnaround possible here for the side of Crank as they try to burn down the rest of this Baron. Anchor is going to try to zone out Arrow. Doctor is going to come in from the flank. Root coming in from Maokai onto Doctor. Doctor's eating a lot of damage coming in here. Final does miss. They do eventually, possibly finish off the Baron. Corinthian going on to Doctor. TP coming in from Mista. Ultimate does go on to Corinthian. Corinthian getting that resistance is shredded by the Trundle, but the Trundle doesn't have enough tank stats. Is going to end up falling on the backside, and that's a massive turnaround for Crank.
Oh my gosh, that was insane. One by one RNG walking straight into Crank, just giving it to him. The Zereth, first the Leona getting killed, Zereth coming through, secondly, from the side. I mean, they had to do what they could to stop that Baron because Boulder was dead, couldn't make it back to the fight, but, man, that's going to be...
I disagree. I say you just give the Baron at that point.
Yeah, very true, but
because you don't, because the thing is as well, yes, Hellfire was dead, but you also had Doctor was dead, and Mister was also dead, and they're like, if Mista and Doctor could have synergized their TP and had all 5 there at the same time, yes, I could see that play working, but I feel like with the difference in spawn timers, I feel like just giving up the Baron would have been a much better call. And because now all that gold advantage is going to be entirely gone.
Yeah, and not with gold is basically even now with all the gold in these structures that they can take down with the Baron buff. And we were talking about them not being able to siege into the Zereth. Well, you have Baron now. How much more protection do you need for your minions?
Not much more. I think that's just about good enough because Jin's not having the best wave clear. As we are going to take a second here, as we are in a minor bit of a lull here. Going to take a look at items across the board here. We have a Tiamat being built onto the Trundle. It only took 32 minutes. It only took 32 minutes. But the bigger point is the Triforce being picked up by Corinthian, who, to be honest, is pretty much 1v9ing this game. Almost 300 farm on the Shyvana, as we are going to see a bit of engage here down in that bot lane here, as we have the front line trying to do damage coming in from the Lux on the backside. Corinthian doing so much damage. We do have the Maokai that's going to fall to I Miss My Dad. Corinthian almost dies, so the 4th shot is going to fall to that damage coming in. We have the artillery coming in from Zera, trying to dodge out on the right of the game. 4th shot and the right of the game, securing the kill onto Monkey, and there's that long-range artillery-like team comp that I talked about earlier, as Lala, you are way too far forward against Mr. Pudding, is going to get slowed up by the pillar, is going to eat a bunch of damage coming in on the way out, and he is eventually going to be able to get out. Final Spark is going to do a fair bit of damage here, and they do still have Baron, so they should be able to hold the tower theoretically, but that was a costly decision.
Oh my gosh. Once again, playing their team turns around, just proves that they know how to play their team comp. Yeah, he's totally going down. Oh, the Morgana binding finishing it off. That's wonderful. Now, they do retain 2 Baron buffs, which is going to be pretty integral in terms of repelling their siege, but that final spark, thankfully, that Anchor was able to land. Push Doctor back, didn't allow them to take any sort of responding structure, so just kills for the side of RNG, but they're really going to need to accelerate this game before Caitlyn is going to start hitting her power spikes and Jin's going to start falling off these tanks.
I mean, you've got 3.5. You got 3.5 items on Caitlyn. You've got almost 3 items onto your Lux, but I'm still concerned about Corinthian's build choice, who finally picks up the Frozen Mallet, which should have been his first item. He should have gotten immediately tanked after. Yes, he does a bunch of damage and has a bunch of HP, but missing health. Oh, Righteous Glory coming on to Doctor. Doctor, I am sorry, you are going to die here. This is just going to be RIP in peace. This is why your Xerath doesn't go to side lanes, people.
Absolutely. You cannot take that Xerath to the side lane. Corinthian doesn't even care. Is just going to tank the tower down. Who needs minions? Not Corinthian. Not in the Bible nowhere does it say no Corinthians.
Yes, as
this is going to be nice.
Yes, this is going to give them yet another gold. Gold essentially dead even at this stage of the game. Yes, it's technically a 1,000 gold difference. But considering the stage of the game, ooh, Nate Rose is eating a little bit of damage here, but as I agree, I do like the Banshee's Veil picked up. Hellfire's eating a little bit of damage here. Corinthian regenerating up with the engage. He is sitting over the wall, getting a big Dragon's Descent here. However, he's only onto the front line. However, we do have I Miss My Dad is going to fall. However, Corinthian falls in trade. Monkey's trying to kite out the Trundle on the backside of the fight. LaFell trying to zone out as much as possible. Both carries are split, but they're pinched in between both damage dealers. Monkey doing so much damage to the front line. Should be able to secure the kill onto Hellfire, as no Anchor actually secures that kill. Flash coming in. Arrow is going to eat the binding and the flash root coming in. That was such a good team fight coming in from Crank.
Front to back, like playing it like pros. They absolutely just tore apart RNG, and this is the problem that they're going to run into.
They got
with the Trundle. Yeah, with the Trundle build, he does not do enough damage to take down this Caitlyn. it's a problem.
Well, he
man.
has
They're
no
just
armor.
doing that
That's the
scale.
bigger issue, is that he can't sustain through the Caitlyn damage because all he has for armor is the tabbies.
So he stole all the Maokai's stats in that last fight, and Caitlyn had to constantly run away from him. Monkey did an easy job at kiting him through, war blocking just backwards. But as soon as those tank stats fell off, because Monkey had I guess it was crits off of the fleet footwork or something in order to keep him alive, maybe just staying away, couldn't get a next through the trundle pillar, stays on one side. It's pretty crazy in terms of how little damage Mister was able to put out.
Yes, plus the fact that your super fed Jhin got evaporated at the immediate start of the fight.
Here comes the Elder.
Yes, and here comes that 4 Drake Elder that I mentioned earlier. Can we see a Miracle Steal coming in from Hellfire? We have the ultimate coming in from Mr. Dad. We have him going in. Oh, he's not quite able to get the steal. Hellfire, I'm sorry, you are going to trade your life for it, but Anchor is going to fall in trade, so they do get one of this massive Elder Drake buff off the table, but they trade their jungler for it.
Right, absolutely. And I harkens back all the way to when they were setting up Baron Vision. They had so many. Granted, they don't have the best Baron tanking comp on the side of RNG. I think they totally could have, instead of those lulls we had around the 25-30 minute mark, they could have maybe gotten themselves Baron into this game a little bit earlier. But I just don't think that they're going to be able to get through the Maokai, through the Shyvana. I think they're going to have to play these team fights really, really well. It's much easier to execute on the side of CRC, as you can see coming through some of these fights.
Well, the issue is that Mr. Dad is pretty much all the gold advantage in terms of their backline. And if he dies at the start of the fight, it doesn't matter that he's 8-1-8 because he can't live long enough for it to matter. While on the other side, you have this 300 farm Shyvana with 4 items. You have Anchor, who was perfectly positioned that entire fight, in that last fight, who was under absolutely zero threat, and was able to, I believe she full combo. Doctor face checking! Ooh. Doctor is like single-handedly doing his impersonation of double lift or something. I don't know.
Doctor needs a doctor, man. Oh, jeez. Like, I would have much preferred, speaking of Doctor, I would have preferred to see maybe a death cap coming out of his build a little bit earlier, just because of how much Leandri's was nerfed. You have to stay in combat and hit a certain rotation of spells to keep the percentage health damage up. It's not as good as it used to be.
It's not a good poke champion item anymore.
No, for sure. It needs enough enough ability power to get down Caitlyn maybe in one rotation, get down Lux, to very least threaten the backline with barely makes it out of there on the
Ooh, we do still have a little bit of Baron left. I'm not quite sure. Let me see. We have a little bit of time. We do actually have a fresh Baron, excuse me. What am I talking about here? They look to try to break this middle inhibitor here, and I do believe that will be free as both the tanks are down in the bot lane. I don't understand why you need 2 people clearing out super minions, but apparently you do, as we have a 5-man siege onto the Nexus. We have the engage coming in from the Nate Rose. Solofriend misses everything as we are having the towers are being siege cannons firing away. Doctor trying to DPS down from the backline. LaFell eating the Trundle pillar as he goes. We have Nate Rose going in onto Mr. Pudding. So much damage trying to be traded back and forth onto the backline. Monkey eating a large crit, is down to about 50% HP here. Is going to auto down onto Mr. Pudding, who is eating a lot of damage. Arrow trying to go in, trying to body block, is going to eventually fall into trade. Hellfire's going in on the other side, is going to end up falling as well as Corinthian secures that kill. And we have Corinthian going in with the Dragon's Ascent. Locket going out is going to buy a lot of damage. This is going to be the turnaround comeback. Crate taking game 1.
Man, do we have a series on our hands today. This is absolutely crazy, but it's scaling in the end turns it around for the side of CRC.
I mean, it wasn't scaling, in my opinion. It was more the lack of mid-game decision-making. Yes, the scaling of Caitlyn did outscale the Jhin, but the issue is that the big crucial team fight that swung the game, Jhin died almost immediately. But that
only death of the game.
Yeah, that was his only death, was that one death, and that led to the entire series of events that ended up allowing them to take a bot lane inhibitor after they secured Baron. And it's like, if you're the big threat as the carry on the Jhin, is you need to be positioned a little bit better. Not to say that this game is entirely on him, because Doctor was highly questionable highly
time after
questionable
time,
positioning.
you can't take your Zerg to the side lane. Your comp is centered around a 4-1. You got a Leona, you got a Bully to keep your 2 carries safe on the side of the 4, and then you have a Trundle who's supposed to be taking these sideways to 1. I think they not only made a number of macro mistakes in terms of not taking the Baron on time, not positioning themselves with massive vision leads that we saw to garner these kill leads. In order to just maybe take the Trundle with double buffs on the bot lane when we were talking about it around, I think it was like the 23-minute mark before things started to swing back.
No,
He could have just.
It was like 24 minutes because that was the second Ocean Drake that was taken for blue side.
I was about to say, even so, you have 3. You know what I mean? Like they have Ocean Drake kind of stay up a little bit, but Trundle can just ignore the Maokai. Doesn't even have to touch him. Doesn't even have a Tiamat to risk pulling tower aggro. And can just take those towers for free. I think they could have put the side of CRC, like RNG could have put CRC in so many between a rock and a hard place if they just executed their comp correctly.
Yeah, I just think it was just a lack of decision making. I don't know if the fact that they're playing with subs hurt their shot calling, because this should have been an entirely winnable game for them. They had the entire priority control. Yes, they don't have a good Baron taking team from top to bottom. Xerath doesn't do great Baron, Jhin doesn't do great Baron damage, Foley doesn't do great Baron damage. But the fact that they could literally sit in a bush with Foley having Righteous Glory, you have Leona, you just have to sit in a bush and wait for the enemy to come check Baron, and you just immediately engage, get the pick, use that pick to then look to Baron. But
just not take Xerath to a side lane. Like, can we reiterate some more? Like they can dive you, especially any time past. Xerath is always going to need to be grouping with his team. So I think that like we mentioned before, CRC just having kind of the ball of death comp. I think that generally is a lot easier to execute as the game goes on. You earn items, you know what I mean? You could just
when you have a Shyvana with 350 CS.
Right.
And 4 items. Like, I know Corinthian didn't have the greatest scoreline, but the amount he was able to do in team fights in terms of just zone and immediate priority, because you saw in almost every single team fight, the second he goes in, he got focused down and a lot of time for Monkey to DPS, for Anchor to DPS. So a lot of work and credit goes to Corinthian, in my opinion, for that game. I do believe we are going to take a little bit of a short break before we get into our Pro Draft for game number 2. I want to thank everyone for tuning in here for Risen. This is our game 1 of our semifinals. We apologize for the delays on that. We will be right back with game number 2 picks and bans here in just a second. Bye.